All right, guys. It's time. Game 3. And it will be a mirror match. Like, you really thought I was going to... You thought I was going to save you from it? No. You knew it was coming. It's a BO7. Boulder Bay is in rotation. Roos is dominant. Yeah, it had to come out, didn't it? And we already know how this one goes, folks. First thing we have to look for is who got the better generation. Not on land. No one cares about that. This map comes down to one simple thing. Who has the better fish? And in this game, it's fairly even. It's actually very even. The slight frustration might be like the wood line slowing down Lucy a tiny bit more, but overall, this is actually very fair. This is, I'm kind of happy with this. I mean, I'm not happy that it's mirror roost because I already know how this one's going to end. I think we all do. But I'm at least happy that no one got screwed over. We've seen some players in this $100,000 land simply lose roost on Roost Boulder Bay because they don't have deep water fish anywhere near them. This time, however, this is fair. This is good. You can see deep water fish here and deep water fish here. Now, I know what you're thinking. Like, why do I care so much about deep water fish when, well, they're roosts, so they don't have to return to docks anyway. So it doesn't matter where the fish are. It actually does. For one thing, you can't necessarily see them straight away, right? Like, when you move out to scout, let's say you haven't got a nearby deep water fish. Maybe they're deeper. How do you find them? Also, the defensive element. If you have one right next to your dock, it's a safe fallback point, and if your opponent pressures you, you'll be able to react quickly. You have the healing come out from the dock. There's a lot more play there. If you're stuck, say, in a situation that I've seen some players have where, let's say, you know, LucifroN doesn't have the deep water fish here. He's only got this one over here. That's risky. Not only are you playing towards the stealth seas, but you're also in the middle of nowhere where you're not going to get instant repairs. You're not going to get instant garrison. And also, your opponent can very much quicker move to your eco line compared to when you have these defensive deep water fishes next to your docks. So, first fishing boat's coming out. LucifroN with a slight edge, already one fishing boat up. Nice start for him. Question is, who's going to reach the tech up first? Well, on the hunting side, LucifroN has fallen behind slightly, but I don't think he cares. Because although the bounty is nice, the reality is, as long as you get enough of the quick feudal timing, everything past that is kind of superfluous. It is beneficial, don't get me wrong, but you don't need to get the slight lead, right? If you're comparative, you at least get your initial deer, and your opponent gets his, you're fine with that. It's thumbs up. And you will see, as we can see on the numbers, like there's a slight lead there for Kyo. Kyo was up, but LucifroN has finally evened it by going back for his own deer. And now, I don't think usually you get many wolves. I'm trying to think, actually. I don't remember the last time I saw a wolf on Boulder Bay. Either they die too quickly or they don't exist. I don't think you really get wolves on Boulder Bay. So you don't have to worry about that variable. It does mean neither player is going to crack the 200, 250 mark on the bounty system. But that doesn't matter too much because you're not really gathering too much food on land past the initial phase of the game. You can see right now, like LucifroN, he has got 7 workers over here working on the food. Meanwhile, Kyo is up at 8. But that's just so that they can float themselves until they can actually afford to get into the fishing economy. Once they're there, they'll try to float 2 or 3 fishing boats to keep constant push out of villages, but then everything else will try to shift across the wood line. Because whoever actually has more on wood and gold will be able to escalate into multi-docks quicker and thus zerg on the waterfront, aka win Boulder Bay. So I'm going to address something because I noticed this has been talked about a lot. This whole concept of like mirror equal fair, and I kind of disagree. Mirror would equal fair if we had a StarCraft format where the maps are fixed generations and nothing is different. But the concept of like mirror matchups making it fair doesn't fit when you consider how unfair the map generation can be. There's not enough ticks in the boxes for me that like balance the way that... Wait, what? Oh my god, LucifroN. Screw this annoying talk about, well, things aren't fair. This from LucifroN, I love this. He instantly moves out, like, Kyo is just looking along the shoreline. He's like, yep, there's our fishing boats, fishing fleet, fishing... Wait a second. Those aren't our boats! Oh my god, only LucifroN. What a legend. I love this guy. He's so fun to watch. Attack ships initially coming out on both sides. But now the difference is that LucifroN is gathering food. And Kyo isn't. Because Kyo, oh my, like, it's a mirror matchup. What your opponent does, you have to do as well, right? He saw his opponent went to his fishing line. So what's his response? I'm going to go to his fishing line too. But also, because Kyo's delayed on this, look at the damage. He already lost one of the attack ships. Oh my god, what a hit. What a hit. LucifroN the assassin in this situation. Gentlemen, I have bad news. One of us is a spy. LucifroN spy sits there with a mustache while everyone doesn't have one. Well, it's not me. I am simply a ruse fisherman. Nothing else. Until a minute from now when I turn into an archer ship and blow you a piece. What was that? Nothing. Nothing. And it feels like Kyo's got nothing in this game now. It really does. He has to even build a wooden fortress to defend his dock. Ouch. Absolute ouch. And the good news is he can garrison this attack ship to min-max it. But this is frustrating. You just dragged 5 villages out to build a wooden fortress to protect yourself against the oncoming onslaught that LucifroN's going to be showing. And he doesn't even garrison the attack ship. He garrisoned the wrong one! Oh, that honestly, I don't mean to be the nitpicker. I don't mean to sound a little bit dramatic, but that feels like a GG. You are going to be hard stuck to try and get back into this now. Kyo accidentally garrisoning the wrong ships. Still losing ships while building this wooden fortress. That's such an investment and feels like such a waste. Kyo, I mean, you know, the name's kind of appropriate because I can tell you he's not going to Berlin, he's not going to Germany. He's more likely to get a chance to go to Kyoto at this rate because he's going nowhere near Europe if he doesn't step it up. LucifroN is looking mighty healthy. Remember, folks, LucifroN already has 2 points on the board. And this is looking like this could easily be a third. You can see he's escalating. Second dock coming out. A second dock that you cannot afford as Kyo because not only are you behind on the military front, but also you invested in this wooden fortress, which costs more than a dock. Oh my goodness. And you can see Lucy's min-maxing. Because he has such a lead on the archer ship count, he doesn't need them all here. He doesn't need to risk them. Instead, he sends them back to heal. And when they come back, it's going to be Kyo's worst nightmare. He has 4 military units. Meanwhile, LucifroN at 13 military cap. Of course, these boats are worth 2 each, but you can see the clear difference. 6-3. Second dock now going down for Kyo. He's outnumbered. And this, oh my god, the water, the fog, the stealth water. If LucifroN had just held for a second longer, he would have had him far too far out, and Kyo would have lost another 2 boats. Right now, he's just got him fully in check. All the while, look at it. The fishing boat count is going up. This means that LucifroN is going to be able to escalate very easily. He can actually shift, everyone off food. He has nobody on land working food. Meanwhile, you look in the base, it's 3 villages for Kyo because he needs enough to keep producing villages. That's actually a big hit to his eco. Archer ship's pinning him in. Needs to be careful not to lose the villages. And you can see LucifroN is min-maxing this. Almost loses the archer ship. And oh no, the formation shuffle. It's going to be sunk. Slight evening up in the difference, but still a clear lead for LucifroN. And this is where you have to be careful. Remember, the wooden fortress does get bonus damage, or outposts, in fact, get bonus damage against boats. So each of those arrows hurts even more. It gives you a very big owie. It feels like LucifroN's going to be the one dishing out the big owies at this rate. Both these boats healthily being able to produce regularly is a problem. No sales upgrade, because why does LucifroN need it? I mean, his opponent has nowhere to run. So it's not like you've got to worry about needing to chase down your opponent. You just need to get enough of these boats that he can't play the game. And we're getting there. And wow, okay, yep. LucifroN's had enough of this. He's confirmed part of the fishing fleet. He's healthy. He feels good. He's like, actually, I'm getting enough food. Just 2 of these fishing boats actually floats my eco enough that I can afford villages. I don't need more. Tech upgrade-wise, I believe he got it. I don't think Kyo... Yeah, Kyo didn't get it. So that's 1 extra damage, 3 bursts. Sorry, 5 bursts. So that's 5 extra damage for 1 upgrade. That's how valuable it is for the roost. That's how absurd it is. And look at the damage coming out. The chase in. This count is not looking good. Doubling up Kyo. LucifroN is looking dominant. The village is so far away from being able to garrison as well. They aren't going to be targeted down because the boats are more important in the eyes of LucifroN. And he's pinned him in. Kyo has nowhere left to run and hide. He's going to lose the boats. Doesn't even bother to garrison them. And well, LucifroN... he makes this look so trivial. The entire fleet is going to be sunk. Barely any of the boats gone for LucifroN. And I'm surprised Kyo hasn't called it because there is no way in hell he can remain in water. And there's no way you can try to float onto land. But he's going to try anyway. But no, the Knights! LucifroN, he was wise to this. Don't call it a comeback. It isn't at all. You won't get a chance. The TC can't go up. LucifroN snuck in Knights on land, and that forces a GG. LucifroN, the big brain, checkmate, he says, as he is 10 moves ahead of Kyo here on Boulder Bay. What a smart play as well. So many players would have actually just sat on that water. They would have just gotten fat off it. They would have been confident, content, and happy. But instead, LucifroN has the foresight to understand that there is a way back in. And although most players would GG out of this series, or rather this game 3 at this stage, he can't afford to because, like I said, it's game 3, and more importantly, LucifroN has won all of them so far. So he understands that Kyo is going to try and fight for this tooth and nail. He will try to bounce back, but LucifroN with a clear economical advantage, forcing his opponent into the double dock, the wooden fortress, and to continue to try and push out ships to the best of his ability. He understands that the only play left for Kyo is to scale eco on land, and that leaves him at risk because there's no way he has any military units on land. LucifroN, however, can actually afford to keep ahead of his opponent in terms of military ships, but also then sidestep into the stables. What a heads-up play. I noticed the stable going down, but I didn't see the knights moving across quick enough. But by the time we do notice it, it's the important detail, right? The moment you get caught with your trousers down trying to build a secondary TC, Kyo, even though he's clutching at straws, desperate to try and get a point on the board, he understands the game is over. He GG's out, and now LucifroN is one game away from making this a clean and easy cruise through to the $100,000 LAN in Germany. But we're going to have to get up to that game in a few minutes' time when we'll see if LucifroN's going to round it out flawlessly or if Kyo is about to start a real comeback. Nice, because someone might be about to qualify for that big 100K tournament as we get into game 4. That's right, LucifroN one game away from making it a clean sweep. And it is here that Tok, aka Kyo, will make his last stand, and it is going to be the dangle. LucifroN sees an opportunity and he seizes it. This is something that him and his little bro have been phenomenal at doing for months now in the Age of Empires 4 competitive scene. When they get into these long formats, these BO7s, they really shine because one thing that they have been doing remarkably well, and I'd say better than almost any other player I've seen, at least on a regular basis, is they've been playing the draft, not just the game. It's such a big component. Maybe I'm too much of a nerd. I come from Dota 2. In Dota 2, we spew our brain over the draft. That's such an important element, right? 120 heroes. What do you want to pick? Who are you going to ban? What are you going to force? That matters here as well. There might only be 8 civs, but the way that you force your opponents to use them uncomfortably, the way you dangle other ones matters a lot. And that is what we're seeing here is LucifroN looking for the killing blow will pull out one of the most aggressive civs. Actually, the most aggressive civ, the most powerful civ in the game, as he will man the Mongols, while Kyo has picked Abbasids here on Lipany. And I feel like this was intended by both. Abbasids is very powerful in Lipany. Lipany offers a few natural choke points compared to Dry Arabia, and some stealth forests that are actually utilizable to slow down any aggressive players out of players like France and the Mongols. However, Mongols can still play very aggressively on this map. They can also boom up in the castle quicker than the Abbasids, but I don't expect that. No. Not unless there's some pressure. Because if you do choose to just go full greed as the Mongols, you will allow the Abbasids to access as multiple TCs. You will allow them to creep up into castle, and that's when they really come online. So I expect a prolonged feudal with LucifroN trying to eke out an edge to just scale up naturally into castle ahead of Kyo while denying him the TC expansion. We'll have to see. This is all theory crafting. I think it is interesting, nonetheless, that LucifroN sees this as the moment. I wonder if he knew his opponent was going to whip out Abbasids. It's kind of interesting because I think there was still other options that Kyo had on the table. No, most notable Kyo through this qualifier, the most he's played is HRE and Maurice, which you both already saw. But the other one he's played a lot of that hasn't actually come out is England. And I think this would have been a good map for him to pick England. And I think England can actually easily stomp the Mongols. Well, not easily, but they can actually stomp the Mongols here on Lipany. We've actually seen other skilled players do it. It's all about your fine-tweaked timings and control around these central stealth forests that enable you to get the outpost down around the Mongols. If you can do that, you can win the game. Instead, that's not going to be an option. Abbasids don't rush outposts. They won't pin in the Mongol player. Instead, he's going to have to prep some defenses himself, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see a Rax rushed quite quickly by Kyo. And initially, LucifroN not even showing his hand. Hasn't dropped any type of military building just yet. That might be about to change, though. And I wouldn't be surprised. What? No. Okay, now I am surprised. I thought there was going to maybe be a stable play to at least play into pro scouts, if not for the harassment. Instead, he instantly drops the pasture. So full greed. And this placement, it's not the most optimal, but it's actually very well protected. Usually, even at this distance, there's a little bit of risk with dropping pastures next to your Uvu. But the reason this is safe is due to the wood line. The wood line makes this very easy to just shuffle all these sheep back without having to worry about them being picked off or this breach point like blocking you between your effective eco line and your gather point, right? Instead, he's going to be able to always get these pasture sheep back without having to worry about them being harassed. He does need some sort of military presence, I feel like, though. I think it's a little bit risky to just go full on greed up against the Abbasids, considering their scalability with the multi-TCs. And yeah, I thought so. I think it's going to be free pastures. He's maximum greeding this. So you can get away with free pastures because the Abbasid player doesn't aggress. But it is incredibly risky to do it to this extent, considering it is an Abbasid player. And although you do get the room to be greedy, like, who is benefiting more from the greed? Are you or is the Abbasid? And the Kyo benefit is the fact that he's going to be able to get multi-TC. You can see he's gathering on the stone now. He's saving up the wood. He's got a lot of people on stone. And I think he might have too many on stone. He has too many on stone. He's going to be floating surplus. Look at his... Like, yeah, I think he might be floating a little bit of surplus here. He's going to be limited on the wood. I think he kind of misscaled this. The reason he done this, by the way, there is a logic behind it. He's playing against Mongols. He doesn't know if his opponent is going to harass him. And now he'll realize that he actually had the wiggle room because there's only an archery range now going down at 5 minutes in, the first military building for the Mongol player. Double villager to ensure it does get constructed quickly and the scout can't stop them. Khan, in the meantime, just being frustrating for Kyo as he's trying to shift across to the berry... What? What? There is something missing here, folks. Do you know what it is? Something very valuable for an Abbasid or Delhi player. Oh, LucifroN. Oh, that is unorthodox. That is not like him at all. Moves the Khan, under range the TC, and now without him for 2 minutes, maybe at a critical point where he could have actually applied a lot of pressure. There it is. TC's going to come out. That's kind of weird, though. This is all a callus. Like, this is all a knock-on effect of what happened initially with the stone gathering. So Kyo, because he put too many people in the stone, he didn't have enough wood to build the TC. So he shifted across the villages early on to gather an initial flux of berries to drop off, but then obviously got harassed and was then still waiting around for the wood. And in the meantime, while he's extracting that, obviously, like, you know, you don't have the mill down, you haven't doubled these up yet. So a little bit of a weird, funky play there, and it's all a ripple effect of that early choice to just invest 8 people quickly on the stone line, all because he was paranoid that he was going to come under fire quickly. That's why he done it, because when you're up against the Mongols, you expect them to be near your base by 5 minutes. He didn't expect this level of freedom, which is why he felt pressured to skew the balance of his economy and float additional stone while the wood was still waiting. Now the archers start to escalate. And we have to check on the vision game because both players are now playing blind. It looks like they got rid of the scout. The Khan, of course, going down is frustrating, but LucifroN will be able to get that vision back up once the Khan respawns. And the importance of this can't be restated enough. Like, your opponent is now building into stables. You've built into archers. He has gone for the spears now, but this is info that isn't really fed back yet to Kyo. Kyo is playing off of 1 military unit, and it means he's going to be caught off guard when he's pushing out horsemen, and there's already spears here to counter him. And Kyo understands how this game is about to be. Has to wall himself in. Palisades going up. Essentially creating his own tomb if he's not careful. It's a fine balance you have to walk here. And going for the double stable. This is really risky, actually. LucifroN is playing Mongols, so you're able to double produce on the spears. So in theory, he can keep churning out spears quick enough that you can't actually get enough horsemen out to counter. Alternatively, I think what we might see out of LucifroN is just looking for scalability into castle. Like, your opponent already has down the second TC. You see double stable, so he's going to be pushing horsemen. Going in for an early, like, ram rush would be risky. So I think instead you just kind of probe with these archers and scale up in the castle quickly. And then you hit this critical timing with all this surplus stone to push out the initial lances and then overwhelm your opponent. Or even man-at-arms could actually be a good play. And then you shift man-at-arms in, build up siege weapons, and then just instantly take out the secondary TC. Horseman coming out. Outpost being put down. So every second LucifroN skirts this without going in, it's harder to breach. And the Horsemen, they thought they had an opportunity. They are dead wrong. And that's going to be no, nice move by LucifroN. Outpost to be cancelled. And so far, keeping his opponent in check and still prepping himself for Castle Age at a very comfortable timing at this rate. He's going to force the archer range to be dropped by Kyo. That is 3 military buildings now. And it's going to be free for LucifroN. He actually went for double racks. But I don't think this is about now. This is about the man-at-arm spam. And that's why he's dropping the blacksmith as well. Look at the numbers. He's going to prep for a castle age timing, get man-at-arms out, and try to rush in with siege. It is a little bit dangerous because if you allow enough room that Kyo gets to castle as well, with the archer range there, he'll have the ability to build his own siege weapons. But instead, he's going for the camel archers. Okay. This is the importance of vision, folks. What Kyo is doing is he's playing the standardized counter. Right, you're playing up against Mongols. They're not heavy sieging you now. You know he's going castle. It's probably going to be lancers, right? And in the meantime, the camel archers can deal with the spears. Not bad. However, because there's a double racks play, and Kyo only ever saw one of them, he doesn't know that there's going to be that flexibility now with the blacksmith being there as well for LucifroN to just mass siege with man-at-arms and push in, which means these camel archers will have no value. This is dangerous. The camel archers, really, what you want them for is not just the spears, it's the camel on knees. You can see it here. 20% less damage coming out from cavalry units. I think Kyo has convinced himself that LucifroN was going to play into cavalry. And he's going to be very surprised in the coming minutes. And Kyo trying to get the outpost down now. This is the one good thing, and this is another reason you need these camel archers. He's trying to get that buffer room so you can get onto the gold line. Outpost should be completed, and LucifroN will be pushed back. However, because LucifroN just shoots such a small force, this is where it becomes obvious what he just done. Kyo's going to realize his opponent's just teched up, but he's not going to be able to punish him to the maximum here. There's not much to kill anymore. Spears and archers, a few of them will fall. The Khan needs to shift away. But the important part is now that he's up in castle, he can push out the man-at-arms in double. And he is also looking towards those researchers. I wouldn't be surprised. There it is. Siege engineering already being queued up. And now you have no answer. Kyo, he needs to rush up, and that's why it was critical he got down this outpost. This is what's going to keep him alive. The fact he can now get on this gold line and access castle himself. But it will take almost 2 minutes to get there, and that detail could be very important. And this Khan, of course, gets quite scary at the stage. You can see hitting for 10 damage. Having 300 health means that Kyo doesn't want to turn around on him. Instead, he's just going to be pushed away. While that happens, the man-at-arms start to zerg out. Now, the annoying part for LucifroN is he does have to invest the Khan in chasing these units, otherwise they'll go for his economy. So that will slow him a little bit on the front, but it looks like he's going to actually take that risk. He understands that with a condensed economy right next to a TC, there shouldn't be too much of a loss. And just a few man-at-arms could push this all back. The important part is that he doesn't lose the blacksmith before this research is complete. Luckily for him, with such few troops here, in 30 seconds, this will not die. You will have the siege engineering improved. Man-at-arms in the meantime starting to dive in. And this is where it gets annoying for Kyo. Kyo, he only has a 9-villager lead right now. He's not escalating quick enough. And now the tech is underway, but that means he's having to wait a long time. He can't speed this up. 1 minute and 25 seconds where he can be butchered, and that's exactly what's going to happen. The only thing that's missing for LucifroN is an outpost that would allow him to move quick with the MAA. But it doesn't matter, because at least, if not that, if he's not able to butcher them, he's at least stopping the villagers from gathering altogether. And eventually they're converging. You can see they're wrapping around. They're going to start cutting them down. And this is frustrating. Kyo, everything in his base is halted. And this makes it worse because he started this tech up. Like, what do you do? Even if you get the tech up, you have 1,000 food floated. That's it. You have no way of gaining resources right now. So your initial units are going to be what? Because you have no gold, you have no wood. You have to somehow extract wherever you can. And as more of these man-at-arms come in, LucifroN can spread them thinner and thinner. And it means eventually you won't be able to shuffle in and out on different things as he moves these MA around because they're going to be able to station everywhere. More of them coming out. Another Rax was attempted to be built. That was denied. Another villager will have to move out in a second. And oh, they found him on the berries as well. That was the one thing that was still working for Kyo. He'll at least shift a few out into the wood again, but most of the time it feels like he has to garrison. It's just too risky. He'll resort to the sheep. Luckily, has a few of them to float him for the moment. But food isn't the problem. You can see he has surplus. He has bundles of that. He needs to access this gold. And if LucifroN identifies that and doubles down on the gold line, there isn't any way that Kyo can utilize this tech up. And there it is. LucifroN gets the confirmation of where his opponent is weak. Lucy is also floating a crap ton of gold. He could prep for Mangonels at any stage. Just needs to sort his wood now. Spearman coming out, surprisingly. Might have been a misclick. MAA still riding around. Clubbing down the villages, and once again, not gathering on the food. But Lucy, this is not what you need to stop. You need to stop him on the gold. Gold and wood. That's exactly what the opposite player needs in Castle Age to get back in the game. And he found the other expansion. Oh my god. I mean, I'll give credit to Kyo for getting so much food, but once again, it's not what he needs. He needs wood. He needs gold. Those are the critical details, and that is why Lucy's confident to just keep cutting him off there. But now we are seeing crossbows being pushed out. And once again, that's why the gold denial would have been so crucial here. The fact that he gets on that initial gold means now he gets a few crossbowmen out, and all of a sudden his MAA will start to get picked apart. You have to question now, LucifroN, where's the transition? Where's the switch up? Because it's still just Rax with one archery range. He needs something else in the mixer. He's at least denying a lot of these resource deposits, but slowly but surely his MAA army is dying, which means that they are getting out on it. And because he has double TC, he can replace the losses. But for the moment, LucifroN still has the villager lead. Sprint upgrade as well. I mean, you can see the damage that the MAAs are starting to take. They're not looking that tanky anymore. This is problematic. I feel like LucifroN tried for a very cheesy victory, and this should have been happening sooner. This Ram or Mangonel, anything of the sort, should have been coming out probably about a minute to a minute and a half ago. It would have made a big difference. But now that the Ram is so delayed, you're giving time for Kyo to recover. He's shifting all these villagers out. He's getting on the initial wood. He might even think about getting his own siege weapons if you're not careful. And you know what? It's very tempting when your opponent only has Mangonels. Only has man-at-arms, rather. To just spam Mangonels. And he will only have man-at-arms. This could have turned into the most boring MAA slog imaginable. But I like that Kyo has identified that not only being behind initially, but also he'd be behind in terms of the fact that the MAA of Mongols move quicker. He understands that he shouldn't be playing into a clash-on-clash of sword and shield. Instead, it's just crossbows to save his day. The forward Rax as well, he will be able to get a little bit of cannon fodder to hold his enemy back while he pins them in and then shoots them down with the crossbows. In the meantime, LucifroN, I think he's going for the eco expansion. That is a long move. That is going to buy a lot of time for Kyo. Remember, Kyo is floating a lot of food already, so that's not the end of the world for him. In fact, he's switching over the gold now. Actually, no, he's just giving himself an escape route. He's like, hold on a sec, I saw that Ram, I know where that's going. Now some pressure coming out to LucifroN's side as the Lancers are trying to move around, but just one or two Spearmen, it just makes it look trivial. So won't get that diving value out of investing in these Lancers. Is moving around with the villagers now. This is risky, but he understands that all the attention's on his base. So in theory, Kyo will get away with extracting these berries in the center of the map where his opponent is never looking. And he does it just in time as well, because that's when the outposts are going down. This is what's been missing. This is the power spike that you're looking for the Mongols. You want to get those outpost networks down, so you're yammed up and your man-at-arms move quickly. Once those are down, all of a sudden this game gets very uncomfortable for Kyo. Ram will get through the expansion. And now all you have to do is really station like one man-at-arms here, and that's good enough. Your opponent won't come out. He will go through all the buildings, because remember, he's playing Mongols, so every time he burns these buildings down, that's 25 food, 25 gold. And that's the cool thing about the Rams for the Mongols, right? 3 of these cheap structures, all of a sudden, you've got half of the price of the Ram back, and you still have it for more things afterwards, right? And you know you're going to get 3 buildings here, because there's no way that Kyo, with a static force, moves his troops south to defend, and then exposes himself on the north side. Although he's exposed anyway. Mangonel shot, good shot at that. Luckily for Kyo, he did choose to research into textiles. We see a lot of players forgo this, but he's not going to make that mistake. Although he wouldn't have lost any villagers, or not many, to that initial shot if it was 50 health, it would have left them vulnerable. He would have had about 20 villagers that could have been killed in the blink of an eye. Now LucifroN's looking to address that. to apply that threat. But it looks like he's going to cancel the Mangonel and go for the Springald instead. This is smart, actually. So you're up against Abyssals. You understand they can build Mangonels themselves, and you're zerging with infantry. The last thing you want is to get Mangonel smashed into the ground. LucifroN's being very disciplined about this. So many players I've seen go for like double, triple Mangonels because they want that instant trip round of shots that instantly kills a unit. But instead, LucifroN understands that he doesn't have to end this right now. He just needs to defend his foothold, and that's exactly what Springalds give him. Man-at-arms riding in. Yammed up. Need to be careful with these Mangonels. You can just see the impact of these Springalds. The Rams are going to try to get through, but it's only one Ram. It's not exactly quick. Man-at-arms riding in the meantime. He's trying to stop the racks from going up, and now they're going to go for the economy. Kyo, he's got a few Man-at-arms stationed here, but you don't have to care about them. LucifroN could just wrap around them and go straight for the villages instead. In the meantime, a few of the Man-at-arms will shift across onto the outpost. He did lose the Mangonel to the fire from the Springalds in the outposts. All of a sudden, with the armor upgrade, though, buff from the arrow, he will be able to hold underneath all this fire, and he's going to get decent trades. Crossbows will get rid of the Khan, though. In the meantime, Man-at-arms are going to clean up their counterparts that the Abyssals have, but now they don't have the Yam to move away, and that's where the crossbows can punish them. Emergency repairs coming out. Shift out from the villagers, just trying to get that outpost up and healthy again. But this is problematic. Kyo was being stunted for a moment, but look what he done with his gold line. After that initial Mangonel shot, he sent it to the back, and this hasn't been addressed. LucifroN didn't leave any straggler men-at-arms here, so he's not actually blocking this off, and instead it's going to be fully utilized. I say that, there he is. Timothy finally woke up. Guy was on guard duty. He wasn't really doing his job, and you really can't do your job against this many villagers. You see how easy it is for them to rebuild the outpost. And I think this is all kind of a catalyst of like LucifroN losing that Mangonel to the fire from the Springalds. If he didn't lose the Mangonel, this is a lot harder for Kyo to just hold. But I think what happened is LucifroN probably baited himself in to try Mangonel shot onto the crossbows, and because he couldn't reach and he was in range of the Springalds, he instantly just gets killed. He will be able to rebuild the Mangonel army, though, and he needs to be fast about this, because although Kyo is suffering on the food front, he's floating a lot of wood and gold, so he's looking healthier economically as this game goes on. In again. Maga shots coming out. Nice hit there, actually, hitting both the mining camp and the racks. The Man-at-arms can actually easily clean up the outposts. However, the Mangonels are going to move into assist. More outposts coming out from Kyo. Needs to buy more time, and he knows it. Where is his force amassing, though? Crossbows at the back. He's building the Springalds, but he's doing it secretly. LucifroN doesn't have this info. He only has 2 Springalds himself. The Magas are moving in. Not really finding what they're looking for. They might find their own death. Springalds trading out. Means the Mangonels are going to be ignored. One-on-one Springald, however. Second one's going to come into play. But the Man-at-arms move straight in. The Yam movement speed's still there. They jump him. And that's going to be an easy cleanup. A mop-up, in fact. And he'll turn around, move on to the crossbows next. This is going well for LucifroN. He's getting the good trades now. However, this shift across, Man-at-arms of his own move out from Kyo with all these racks standing here. And they'll be able to burn down the Mangonels. Big mistake made. LucifroN jumping the gun going in so deep. Didn't want to get rid of the forward racks, and now is paying the price. However, his Man-at-arms are clean up. The crossbows have been forced away. The trades are still good. LucifroN continue to pressure his opponent, and Kyo, he's not inflating. He's 2 villagers ahead. He's not escalating the way he wants to. And at this stage of the game, that is not a good sign when you went for the second TC so early. Yes, you are ahead. Yes, you'll get a few more villagers. But when you start to reach around that 100 mark, off of 1 TC as the Mongols, you're very confident about your game. And at all times, you have to consider that he's got 11 people working on this gold line. It's basically 16, because you have to get that 50% extra due to the nature of the step readout. Man-at-arms in again, just being frustrating. They're butchering him. So much for that villager lead I was talking about. All of a sudden, he's 6 behind LucifroN. This is getting frustrating. Kyo is having to put out a million fires at once. And, well, with only one little baby fire extinguisher, it's hard to respond to all those. That's how it feels. Like, his army is not really scaling. I mean, when we look at the military side, Kyo has 6 units. 6! LucifroN has 42. And he's prepping them. Man-at-arms at the side, building the battering rams. Man-at-arms in the base, pushing the villagers away. Man-at-arms in the tree lines, building the siege weapons. Are you seeing the recurring pattern here? Man-at-arms everywhere for Lucy. They'll move in again. Once more into the breach. Ram going back for that berry expansion, understanding that Kyo He's starving right now. You can see he's barely floating any additional food eco. He needs everything he can get to replace everything he has lost. LucifroN will use this opportunity not only to strike there, but to jump in deep and see what's happening in the main base. Mangonel's rolling through. Springel's trying to snipe out the siege weapons, but it's not good enough. And no real Springel's in the field, which means his Mangonels and Springel's are safe. And with so many man-at-arms underneath the primary TC, Kyo is just still responding. It's all reactive. He's never proactive because he doesn't get an opportunity. The man-at-arms force him off the berry expansion. The outposts are going down. But as soon as you run through that gate, there's MAAs on the other side. And they've pinned your wood line. And that's it. That's enough. Kyo says, I can't deal with this anymore. It's been 20 minutes of this. I don't want another 20 minutes of this. I just want to hug my mom and tell her I love her. LucifroN will make it a clean sweep and take it 4-0.